Welcome to Feed Your Lion. I'm Dr. L.I.O.N, and I'm here to aid you in the mastery of total health, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, and financial. So prepare to have your wellness tank filled up with this podcast. Welcome to another episode of Feed Your Lion. Today's special guests are Christie Addington and Ramsey, and we're doing a little something special today because they also, about a block down the street, have their own podcast. So we're kind of doing a crossover episode, I guess you would say. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves and their podcast now.
All right. Well, welcome to Appalachian Treasures and Dreams. My name is Ramsey. I'm with Stockton Mortgage Corporation, and I'm here with my favorite co-host,
Christie Addington with eXp Realty. And JoDo, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you both for being here. This is exciting. We've never done like a crossover episode, so we're going to all figure it out together, and it's going to be awesome. So
and we've never done a podcast on camera, so this will be interesting.
I know, and I'm like constantly, I told them I'm constantly getting yelled at because I always forget to mention the whole YouTube channel thing, but you guys can add this maybe. Maybe you could take yours to the YouTube for the other viewers. I don't know. But so talk a little bit about your podcast first. Like, what do you guys do on your podcast? What do you specialize in?
Sure. So we really we came up with this podcast about a year ago. We were at the groundbreaking of the racetrack over there at Camp Landing. And so we were just talking about, just something different to do with our businesses and stuff. And Ryan and I have known each other, well, all of our lives pretty much, so we've probably never had a lack of conversation, although he says he was shy in middle school and didn't talk, and I probably did all the talking. So
I could tell
He's
some
in
stories.
agreement.
You could.
I could tell some stories.
Oh, I have a good memory, or a bad memory. So I forget all the stories. So I'll forget mine if you forget yours. Or forget yours if you forget mine.
We love the
Anyway.
stories. So.
Yeah. Well, we started talking then, and we really started talking about doing it more surrounding real estate because that's our, that's what we do.
Yeah.
But then as it evolved, it was like, well, maybe we need to take it further and just really focus on what are the great things happening in our area, and really, really focus on all three states, the good businesses that are being ran, the great people in the area, everything that we treasure, everything that we're dreaming about, which is how we got our name.
Yeah, we were both kind of always in the community, looking what's going on in the community, keeping up with it, and trying to be a little more involved.
Yeah.
And when we put the podcast together, it was originally just going to be real estate, and then the thought happened of that's just going to bore people after a while.
Yeah.
So to attract more people, we decided to add the community section, which has worked out well. And then it just got to the point, I know I like to say that it was just some feedback from some fans, but basically it was my wife and mother-in-law was like, yeah, we always just skip past the real estate stuff, go to the community section because that's the interesting part. So it's really kind of involved in now it's just a community podcast.
Okay.
We do talk a little real estate here and there, but we try to get some interesting guests from throughout the community.
Right.
Yeah, give me, who have you had on? Because it's been, how long have you been doing your podcast now? It's
February.
Yeah, since February.
February, okay. So
We've dropped, 26, 27?
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood. Not too many in the last couple months because we've both been so busy, and also it's kind of been hard to track some people down. But yeah, we've dropped quite a few.
do you do what do you have a specific setup? Because when I was doing this, I wanted to do 3 a month, and that was easy at first, but then you're right, when you get busy and stuff, it's harder to keep up with. So I'm I kind of switched. So I'm okay, for sure we're going to do at least one a month. And if we have extra content, we can kind of drop it as bonus. But what do you guys, how are you setting that up?
Well, we originally were going to do, or at least the thought was just do one every couple weeks.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden now we're going to do one every week. And we were knocking out more than one a week. We were 5-6 episodes ahead at one point to where you had to be careful about what you were talking about on the air.
Yeah.
Because by the time the podcasts come out sometimes, that information might be outdated.
Yeah.
So we kind of backed off on it a little bit and tried to keep it a little more current, but now we're just way behind. So
I feel that's me. I got like the last couple months, I was like, okay, I've got to redo this here because I am not dropping content when I'm supposed to be. But I think that's like the big thing with podcasts is you kind of got to stick to what you say. I mean, people know to expect it at a certain time. I don't know if you guys have seen any of that yet, or
we have had people look for it every Friday.
Yeah.
So, you know, just here and there, we'll have people ask about it or whatever. And so that's been, it's been encouraging.
Yeah.
So,
to know people are out there listening to what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And even though we've maybe dropped one or two in the past couple months. The one thing, just watching the analytics too, I've noticed a lot of people are going back and just catching up on older podcasts. So we've still got people listening.
Yeah.
We're just not dropping them as often. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk a little bit about your background. So like real estate, more like how'd you get into your professions?
Why don't you go first? You've been in it longer.
Yeah.
Well, I've been in the mortgage business now, what is this, 2023, for about 21 years now. Mm-hmm. Started out, was working for my father in his title business at the time. Him and a partner also had a mortgage company, and the lady that was working from them kind of just quit all of a sudden, and they had nobody else. So Dad just said, go in there and figure it out.
Yeah.
So I went in there and figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then after about a year, and after in the process of figuring it out, was like, ooh, I can make some really good money doing this. Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed it too. It was especially, my favorite part is just helping people get new homes, especially first-time home buyers.
Sure.
So from that aspect, it was just the thing, and here I am 21 years later. I mean, I've been with different, I'm Stockton Mortgage is the third different company that I've worked for, but they've all been good companies and one bank. But yeah, it's been really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes, I've been in the business since 2009. So we're going on almost 15 years now is where we are. And like Ryan, actually, when we talked a little bit before we got in here, my background, y'all were asking what my education was. Well, I have an undergraduate degree from Marshall in criminal justice. I have a criminal justice with a juvenile justice background, master's degree, and I'm halfway through a PhD in sociology. And I'm not using that.
Yeah.
Just because I just got into it and I'm like.
So what made you want to do that, Doctor? I'm curious. As a lifelong nerd myself, like I'm curious about other people who do the crazy things. So.
Oh, that was kind of it. I was at Marshall and then at Eastern, and it was all this wonderful applied stuff. Yeah. And I was working with police officers. It was actually during the Rodney King trial. Yeah. There was a murder that happened up in Huntington. I actually became a private investigator for 2 years. I mean, all these things that just of led to it. And then I decided to pursue the PhD level at UK, and it was just a totally different atmosphere. And I'm like, okay, I don't like this. Yeah. And at that point in time, I was driving back and forth from here to Lexington because it was really before the internet had taken off and email and all the things. And so you couldn't do your degree online. So I was driving back and forth. I had a broken leg. I had a baby. I mean, all these different things. And I'm like, get it.
Yeah.
I'm done. I don't need this. I think I really want to be a mommy. And so I spent the past, 27 years being a mommy. Yeah. And it has been the best thing ever. And then we decided to get in. I needed to do something. The kids had all gone to school. And then that was when I decided to get into sales. And I should have done that to begin with. Yeah. I mean, I was raised by serial entrepreneurs, and I married one. Yeah. And so this is where I am, and this is really kind of been my calling. And like Ryan, I love to help people. Yeah. I love to help, especially first-time home buyers. Yeah. Walk you through the process, make you feel comfortable with it, help you get a good product.
Sure.
And hopefully you'll either come back to me or refer a friend and family.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. No, I love that. So. I have to delve in. I told you I have to delve into this private investigator. I worked at the prison for about a year, and a couple friends of mine there. Actually, one was a dentist and the other one's a PA. And we had this thing for several months. We looked it up online, and I guess in Kentucky you only have to take a test, right?
I was in West Virginia, so yes, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I think it was just you paid $500 or $1,000 or something. You could take the test and you could have your private. So we had this all figured out. It was going to be 2 Janes and a Dick like that was going to be our title company for like our, private eye. And we were going to get these like camera lapels and everything. I mean, we had this like, we were like serious about this thing, but you actually went out and did this. So I want to know, and like you were involved investigating, like how did that happen?
How did it
we want to
happen?
know.
How did it happen?
I've always been curious about that, never asked.
How did it happen? That was the wild thing. So I lived in a sorority house, and it was senior year, and we were getting ready to go to the Bahamas, my senior, spring break trip. And so I had ordered a credit card, and it was to come to the sorority house. Well, it never came. Yeah. And I never got it. And I thought, oh, well, it's probably a good thing. I do not have a credit card to take with me to the Bahamas. That's a good thing. Yeah. So I didn't think anything more about it. Well, then I started getting bills. And what had happened was we had a housekeeper. So I went to school at Marshall, so I was in the Tri Sigma house up there. We had a housekeeper who took the credit card, and she went and spent it. And so I started looking and started tracking down where she had spent her money. And then I went to those stores and was like, okay, does this sound familiar? Here's the receipt. This is what they purchased, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, oh my gosh, you need to meet my friend. I forgot what his first name was, but it was Lewis and Lewis Private Investigating. And you would be really good at that. And I'm like, I love things like that. You know, that's why I'm in the business I'm in. That's why I'm in the school I'm in. That's why I'm doing this. Yeah. So I went to them, and they hired me. And at that time there was no test, there wasn't anything like that, but you had to work underneath someone for 2 years to get your license. Well, they threw me out, and they're like, here you go ahead, you need to follow this person, because in the state of West Virginia, every public defendant gets $1,000 to conduct a private investigation, to do what you need to do. And so they would hire out Lewis and Lewis to do the private investigating. So I worked for, some of the cases I did. One was a murder case out L.I.O.N, which was really interesting. And I'm trying to think some of the others. I did work for like workman's comp. Okay. So the workman's comp attorneys would hire us to go and see if these people were really hurt. Yeah. And so I was in Lincoln County, West Virginia. My partner and I had rented a trailer on the side of a hill. So this is in Lincoln County. If you think about it, all the houses are on the side of a hill. So, right. So you've got grandma and grandpa, you've got the second generation here, and you've got the third generation here. So we rented the third generation trailer at the top.
Oh my God.
And we were videoing the second generation house.
The best thing I've ever heard.
And she was out on the porch. She was painting. She was mowing the lawn. So we had her. I would go and spend the day. He would go and spend the night. And we were husband and wife. And I mean, it was hysterical. So unfortunately, we did the no thing. We let them throw our trash out, and they found us and called me on it.
Okay, so you're doing this investigation. So somebody in the family rented you the place. Did they know why you were renting the place?
Oh yeah, I was. We were both attorneys.
Was there that much animosity in the family that they were just waiting to get to the other one?
No. It was very friendly. It was grandma and grandpa. I rented them from grandma and grandpa, and they were so friendly. And I was doing research. I was just going to need it for like a week or two, and I was doing research at the courthouse. That was all they knew.
That was your cover.
That was our cover. Yeah.
So this legit reminds me of those those people that wear like fake neck braces and stuff. Like
totally.
I mean, that's like, this is what that story reminds me of. Like you see that in the movies all the time. People are just like ripping them off when they're at home. But that is awesome. Like how long did you do this?
About 2 years. About 2 years. Yeah.
See. You might now you've like re-sparked that flame of where I want to go
fun.
Back to like, this is great.
Oh, I've got a girlfriend who is still a private investigator in Grayson, and she's the one I call if I've got questions on somebody. I don't do a lot of it, but if I've got questions like on a client or a caller or somebody, something that's going south, I'll call her up and I'll go, okay, can you give me the details on this? So
yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Have you done any private investigating?
No, I can't say that I've done any private investigating. However, in the mortgage business, we do a lot of. You would be surprised what we look into.
Yeah, absolutely. If somebody's getting money for a house, it's the biggest purchase.
As I like to say, if people only knew behind the scenes how deeply we dive into their their lives. Yeah. I mean, they're mostly their financial information, but there's stuff that comes up. So, I mean, we're going to be we ask questions about, hey, when did you live here? We'll find addresses that sometimes they didn't even know was out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. So it's...
You're a little bit, you're a little detective-like in your...
Yeah, as I say, if you're going to buy a house, I mean, it's a very intrusive process.
Absolutely.
So we know how to dig.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
So, like, as far as what you're seeing now, because we were talking a little before with the interest rates and stuff being higher.
And I was having so much fun.
I know.
Right?
I know. I always have to do that. I have to turn it back. I know. I'm sorry. I guess just that your overall, like, what the state of things are.
Well, I mean, the people are out still looking to buy houses. I mean, the rates right now, I don't know when this comes out, but I know they skyrocketed again last week a little bit. So now we're tipping into the 8% range.
Yeah.
For the first time. I mean, I've been in this 21 years, and I think when I got in it, they were at 7s, and all they've done is gone down since, and to the last 12 months or so. Yeah. But like I said, right now they're tipping into the 8s. Everything I read, and I read a lot about this kind of stuff. Everything says it should still get down into the 6s by the end of the year. I'm not seeing any of it.
Yeah.
I know the some information I'd read this morning with the potential government shutdowns making the markets a little nervous. I mean, honestly, if somebody in power or somebody that has any kind of monetary authority comes out and just says something that has a bad tone to it, it can send the market in a strange direction. Everybody's real hesitant, even though the numbers, with the exception of the employment numbers, look positive. And unfortunately, the employment numbers are too low. That's one bad thing, believe it or not. But with the exception of the employment numbers, everything's coming back into line. So you would think that they would start easing up on it, but right now nobody's getting the warm and fuzzy about that. So
Sure. What about, are you still seeing on the real estate side, people are still looking, like, I mean, because it's been a seller's market for a while. So, I mean, are you still seeing that out there? Any shifts you think coming?
It's slowed down a little bit. I've seen some slowdown in the buying side. But the other thing is we still have a lack of inventory. So if it is a good house in a good area in a good price range, and somebody's not thinking, oh, it's a seller's market, we're going to price it way up here, and they actually price it reasonably, it's going to go.
Yeah, I know. I had a couple conversations last week with realtors, and they both had the same central theme: was there's stuff sitting on the market now. You're not getting that same activity from buyers, even though I'm doing a lot of pre-approvals and I've got people ready to buy. They're not pulling the trigger right now. Now, whether that's due to interest rates or, I mean, honestly, I think a lot of it's just the time of the year, back to school and things like that. So people don't have as much time to maybe look at home buying. I mean, you're seeing, as they said, they're seeing listings now come on the market to where 6 months ago it had taken about 2 hours to sell it. Now it's taken 2 weeks and
longer.
And some, I mean, one had a house on the market in Russell at a reasonable price, and it's been there a week, and they haven't even had a call on it, which is almost unheard of. Usually, you put something on the...
So we might be flipping over to the other side here after too long.
I guess it needs to correct in some ways, but I really don't like it.
I
really like it the other way, where it's busy.
Yes.
Well, of course,
yeah. And once rates start coming down, I think once they get back into this, anywhere in the 6s, I think you'll see a lot of people really start getting back into the market.
Right.
And then once they get down, probably low 6s, back into the 5s, even the people that's got that 2 and 3% interest rate that they got back during COVID, they'll start wanting to scratch that itch.
Right.
They'll start wanting to move or try to do some things. And I think, because that's going to be more than normal. And they'll just accept it.
Right.
Yeah. Now, does Stockton, do they do like kind of every type of mortgage, or are they kind of based in, because I don't know much about Stockton. So are they like, how are they like, is it more commercial, residential, mix of everything? Like how?
Strictly residential.
Okay.
No, Stockton Mortgage, we've been open for about 21 years now.
Okay.
It was started out of Frankfort, Kentucky by a gentleman by the name of David Stockton, who's still the owner and the board of director, a single person. He owns it and he operates it, and he's the only person that has anything to say about it. But no, we do all kinds of different residential lending. I won't say that we have every mortgage product out there, but we do about everything that most people are interested in. We have adjustable rates. They're not very good. But mostly it's fixed rates. We do conventional FHA, VA, USDA.
Okay.
We're tied into the state housing authorities, so we have a lot of different down payment assistance programs. There's not much we can't do.
Don't hate me because it's boring, but I feel like you're going to say that to me. But give people a little snippet if they're not familiar with like the types of lending, like when you're talking about USDA, VA, like just a little snippet about each of those.
Okay. Well, your standard mortgage, or the one everybody understands most, is the conventional mortgage. I mean, it's a 30-year, well, let's say a 10 to 30-year fixed mortgage. Down payments can go as low as 3 to 5%, depending on whether you're a first-time home buyer or you meet certain income levels. Then you get into the FHA mortgage, the original fixed-rate mortgage, the original low down payment mortgage, started back in the 30s. That one's it's a 3.5% down payment. It comes as a 30-year fixed. It's a great program for people that doesn't have the highest credit scores. So let's say something, if you're below a 680 to 700 credit score, sometimes that's a better option for you. Conventional mortgages are a lot more sensitive to where your credit stands and how much you're putting down and things. So it is a great program. It is, and then we get into the VA mortgage, or the Veterans Administration mortgage, and that's strictly for veterans. It's my favorite loan to do. It's no money down, no PMI. So it's a great program if you're a veteran. Obviously, there's just not as many people out there qualify for that, but it is my favorite mortgage to do. And then the USDA loan, the United States Department of Agriculture, yes, they do get into mortgage lending. That's a no money down loan. Now that one's mostly set up to handle homes, not farms, but homes in more rural areas. So the home's got to sit in a geographically approved area. And she's starting to glaze over. I can tell I'm boring her here. But it's
no, you're not. I actually love this kind of stuff. Yeah. I do. I'm one of, like I said, I'm a nerd.
But for the USDA, the home has to be located in a geographically approved area, and then you have to hit certain income limits, because that program is more for moderate to low income people. So you have to keep your income has to come in under a certain level to be able to qualify for it. A lot of people like it and want it, but again, it's a little more restrictive. Now, the one thing with the USDA loan, which I know Christie already knows this, is coming October 1st of this year, USDA went out and they redid their maps. So what they've done here in this area, because of some population declines and restrictions, they've opened up a lot of this area now to USDA. It used to be everywhere in eastern Kentucky was okay unless you lived from US 64 down to the other side of the city of Russell. Now they've restricted that map in Kentucky down to just basically the city of Ashland. It's the only place you can't get a USDA loan. So there's a lot of areas around here now that'll open up USDA too.
Yeah, that's good. Well, Christy, you said earlier that you came from a family of entrepreneurs and you married one. Talk a little bit about that, like some of the experiences you've had, or a little bit of lessons, or switching gears here. But that
is funny.
Gotcha.
That's really interesting. I mean, I did. So, like, my great grandfather was a huckster, in which he came over the hills there in Paintsville and came here. So that was how all of that came to be. They sold eggs. We had Young's Eggs for years.
Nice.
My dad had a grocery store out on Route 60 called Jay's Market.
Yeah.
And then he also had a BP station. Those were my first jobs at 13. I was in the bakery decorating cakes and making donuts. My mom had a craft store. Her mom also had a craft store at one point in time. So, that was kind of my background. And then I met Stephen, and his family was all into coal mining. But his dad had also had a chicken farm, like way back when, in Elliott County, in which my grandfather went to sell pullets, which are baby chicks. He went to sell pullets to them, and met Stephen as a 6-month-old.
Nice.
You know, his dad came out, he's like, look at my new 6-month-old baby boy. And so my grandfather loved to tell that story. So I came from this long line of entrepreneurs, you know, and always got to be doing something. And then I meet Stephen, and that is all he does. I mean, he worked for his brothers for years, and now he's out on his own, and goodness knows, I mean, the places that boy's been and things he's done.
He's a worldwide traveler, right?
Oh, my heavens.
We were I remember at the Rotary dinner, we were talking about I think he had just recently been out of the country or something when we were.
Oh, yeah. So he'd been to the Philippines he was like 7 or 8 times to the Philippines. I know, right?
Yeah, well, I was flying out. I was going to the Tri-State Airport, just flying out. I think that was Cancun. It was Cancun or Hawaii, one of the two.
Yeah.
And 6 o'clock in the morning, I get through security, going over to wait and walk in, and there's a lot of people waiting there. And I look around, and there sits Stephen. And it's like, oh, hey, how you doing? He's off to, where was he off to? I wasn't the Philippines at that time. I think it was
Curacao?
No, I think it was Canary Islands, maybe? Not Canary Islands.
Curacao, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And
Who
then,
knows?
then he's like,
Cayman.
yeah, then I got to go from there. And he was flying to Vegas because he was going to meet Christie out
That
there.
was it.
She
He was
at
in
a
Cayman.
convention. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to meet Christie out there for a convention and then hang out for a while. And I'm like, so he's always going somewhere.
Always. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been our marriage.
Yeah.
You know, most of our vacations are centered around a business trip.
Yeah.
So, which is fine. I mean, I'm not complaining. We've been to cool places, but yeah. So we watched The Sound of Freedom this past summer. Did y'all see that movie?
That's a good movie. Yeah.
So we're sitting there watching it, and this, you know, when they take them back in the jungles of Colombia,
Yeah.
Steve's like, "I've been there. I've been there." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean you've been there?" So yeah, he said, "That's where I rode the mule." So he rode a mule up into the mountains of Colombia he was telling me today, I had a pen and a map. I had 2 guys in front of me with machetes and 2 guys behind me with machetes.
What was he?
Coal.
It was for coal. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I'm like, dude.
I was like, wait. What?
So yeah.
I was gonna ask you, what kind of entrepreneur is he now?
Oh my gosh. So yeah, no.
Rolling mules.
No white powder. No white powder. This was the black stuff.
Okay. All right. I'm glad we cleared that up.
That's my thing. So
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
You have been in it then.
It's been fun.
Yes.
So tell us about you. What brought you here? Because you're not from here originally, right?
I grew up in Circleville, Ohio, so not too far.
No.
Like about an hour. But after med school, I was doing my residency in Portsmouth. And my dad was down there, so he worked in the ER. And my stepmom was also an ER nurse at the time. She did like flight in ER, and he was a PA then.
Okay.
So we were like literally all working in the same ER during my training. They would call it like Yont Cubed if we were all in the ER, you know. But after that, I knew I wasn't going to be an employee in the ER forever. It just wasn't going to happen. I like freedom, and I did not, you know, it just wasn't something I was going to do for life. I'm like very thankful for the background, and you know, especially with being a physician, you can get into a lot of things from just having that background. So
Right.
I'm very grateful for that, but I knew I was going to do my own business stuff like early. So even right after residency, no joke, I was getting a tattoo, and my tattoo artist was like, "You should do laser tattoo removal." He's like, there's nobody around here that's doing that. And he's like, you can't be in the city of Ashland doing tattooing. He's like, but you could do the laser, and you have to be like a doctor to do it. And I was like, really? So I looked it up. 3 months later, I ended up buying this like, you know, over $150,000 machine and leased a place here, because in Ohio it was one of like 4 states where a physician had to operate the laser. Anywhere else you could hire that out. And I knew I didn't want to run the laser every day. So anyways, yeah, so I rented a place, and then this place came up for sale the next year, and I was like, well, they had the salon next door. I was like, we can do a referral thing with that. And you know, I was getting into other stuff and the laser hair and the IVs and all that. And I was like, well, I can grow into this place. And that's what happened. So, yeah. And now, 9 years later? So,
It's been that long.
yeah. I
It's
know.
hard to believe.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Don't say that. I'm fighting it every step of
what,
the way.
getting old?
Age, yes.
Oh no.
I'm still not over
With-
the senior discount thing. So
Oh,
it was on our
Did you just
podcast.
did you just get that this year?
Was about a month ago. Went into Taco Bell and was just getting an order, and the kid looked at me and said, "Oh, I'll give you the senior discount." I never wanted
that's a
to
good-
go over the counter at somebody, but I looked at him and said,
That's a good feeling.
"Not a good thing to say, but I'll take it." I ain't that stupid.
That's hilarious. I love it.
It wasn't for me at the time.
That, you know what? No, that just means you're wise.
that's
Yeah.
it.
That's all it is.
I'm still fighting it.
I know. This is my last year of my 30s, so I'm gonna enjoy it. I got 8 months left, and then I'm crossed to the other side of middle-agedness.
Me too.
Is that
Me
what
too.
that is?
Yeah, Christie's on the 18th anniversary of her 39th.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not 18. Is 18th? No, don't do that. No. Let's try 14th
Yeah, 14th. Sorry.
Of what anniversary?
of the 39.
The 39.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you can do the math. Maybe 15th. I don't know, somewhere there.
Somewhere.
I'll be 55 this year. Okay.
That's a good.
I embrace it.
That is a good age.
I'm still closer to 50 than I am 60
you
right
look
now.
younger than me though. Like
trying
so it's,
everything.
Like seriously.
No. I've got
Hey, I'm the youngest host on our podcast. That's all I say. So my whole 25
Did she-
days.
I was
Sounds
gonna
like
say.
hello.
I was gonna say. What has she got? Like 3 months?
25 days.
Yeah.
Okay,
25 days.
Okay.
So
all right,
just
all
over
right.
3 weeks.
So what's been your like? I will answer more questions, but what's been your thing with like the podcast? Like, have you enjoyed it? Like, what have you noticed with it? Like, any? I mean, have you had fun with it? I like. For me, I love it. That's why I'm asking. Like,
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun with it. We've had some really, really interesting guests on that. I know when we were first doing the podcast and we were kind of doing it half real estate, half community.
Yeah.
We were getting into that community section and having to stop it after 25, 30 minutes
Yeah.
just to limit time. But there was so much more we can get into now that
Right.
now that we're doing just community. For the most part, it's like we can spend an hour, and I mean,
just get into
let's say an
what-
hour and then some, because most of them will run longer than an hour because you just get into such good conversations and such interesting people and the topics. I mean, there's a lot going on in the area now, so you could sometimes just go forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm just like, I mean, this is technically like a health and wellness podcast, but I feel like everything falls into health and wellness, right? Like, because yes, we'll talk about physical health. Yes, I have different people talking
Right.
about that, but like, you also have your mindset, your relationships with other people. You know, finances is a huge part of health. Your spiritual life, like, there's just so many things I feel like that goes into making somebody like whole and healthy. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's not a one thing. So I feel like we kind of go way.
So what have you discovered? What's been who has been your most interesting guest in speaking on health and
See, but
Wellness.
I feel like I can't say that because, like, you know, yes, like, okay, Eden, who I'm partnering with for the gym downstairs, like, we did a really good one on, like, physical health. And, like, if I'm going to talk about weightlifting or, like, you know, being in that kind
she's
of
good.
competition, she's going to be the person I'm going to talk to. But if it's going to be something related to, you know, the mind, or, like, okay, we had a neurologist on time about neurological health. We've had, you know, my grandparents talking about their 60 years of marriage. Like, so if I'm going to take advice on that, they're the best example of marriage I've seen. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I feel like I'm not going to go to everybody about advice for everything in health. It's going to be like, okay, what really stands out to me about this person, or where have they really
Right.
mastered that area? And,
Right.
like, let's talk to them about that, you know, because
Right.
not everybody's going to be perfect in everything. I'd rather take the people that are excelling in one area and, like, let me pick your brain on that. And I like that. I like sitting down and having a conversation like that.
So what's worked for you? What's worked for you?
What? And
Okay, let's do physical health. What's worked for you physically?
well, I'm still figuring that out. Here's my thing. I can work out all day. It is the food that I struggle with.
I'm with you on that, sister.
To eat. I love to eat. And I for all occasions, whether I'm happy, sad, celebrating, depressed, whatever it is, I love food. So that really for me, like, and you know, I'm getting back to where I was. I still got another like 20 pounds to take off, but and physically, like, I'm in pretty decent shape,
Yeah.
I think, as far as, like, you know, I go to the gym 5 or 6 days a week for, like, 2 hours. You know, I'm not like I move a lot, but I also, like, still I have not mastered the food. So I'm really working on that, like, and experimenting with different things, like different macros, like, maybe I'm going to try a little bit longer fast here and there to see, like, I'm still playing with that side to see, because I think everybody's different when it comes to food, and I still am going to require more food than somebody who's not doing anything, you know, or more, you know, stuff that's going to give me a little more energy, but I'm still working on that side. So I like to, if you know any good nutrition people, let me know. I've had one or two on here, but they're all different. Everybody's got a different opinion on things.
Right.
So it's good.
And everybody's different. I mean, I'm someone that's fought my weight my entire life.
Yeah.
And as I tell my doctor all the time, I don't have a problem with the working out side
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
I mean, there was times not all that long ago. I mean, go out on a Sunday morning and run 12 miles. No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just I love food.
Yeah.
Same.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I'm a type 2 diabetic.
yeah.
So I'm on Ozempic, which everybody
Yeah.
gets for weight loss. And I'm like, ain't helping me any. I don't
Yeah.
see what the whole weight loss thing
You know,
is.
I did a little thing about Ozempic on one just by myself, just because so many. I had like probably 50 or more people asking me my opinions on this. I was like, I'm just going to do a little snippet for 20 minutes talking about Ozempic, and I put it up there. But I tell people what I've seen with the diabetics is usually their sugars get pretty well controlled, but they don't notice as much as the weight side as somebody who's just taking it for weight and who's not diabetic.
Yeah,
I've heard multiple people say that, and that seems to be a trend.
Yeah, and I would probably agree with that through my personal experience. But I think I know. A couple weeks ago, I listened to a podcast on Ozempic, and they were talking about the magic weight loss thing. And I guess they've got, is it Jardians now? Maybe I don't know. They've got a weight loss component. Ozempic, or the company that makes it, sells now.
Of course they are. They're making a killing.
Oh,
Yeah,
they are.
but I know they were talking about it on there, and it comes down. I mean, they talked about how Ozempic worked, because I always wondered about that. And once you learned a little more about it, it's like, oh yeah, I've had all those changes.
Yeah.
But I think I have figured out with myself, I just, it's time to eat, and whether I'm
Yeah.
hungry or not, I eat.
Well, and I think,
And
that's the thing. You just said it, though, like the moderation portion of it. I think that's the biggest thing. Because especially in America, I think we like overdo everything. Like we don't go to the part where we just feel okay. Like, they say to stop at about 80%, right? Like you don't have to be like full, but we don't. We like even go more. Like even our plate sizes are way bigger than what you find in like Europe and stuff. Like we tend to just like, it's got to be overboard on everything. And I think if we did just like moderate, like you take care of a lot of problems if you don't, push it past that.
Yeah, I have to say on that one, I became a huge F1 racing fan over the last couple 3 years, and I always laugh because every time they come to the United States for a race and they interview the drivers, what is the very first thing they always say about what it's like being in the United States? Portion size.
Absolutely.
They're like, you just go out and eat, and they're like, I could eat for 3 days on what I get in one meal in the United States compared to where you get other places.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing, like, if you looked, like, they didn't have, like, weight problems back then. They had their 3 meals, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't do all this, like, snacking and all this other stuff. It was just, like, they had their breakfast, they had their, like, 14-hour fast at night because that's the time breakfast was the next morning. And it wasn't, like, these crazy... And they didn't do that extra stuff. And I just feel like as a society, we're kind of extra about a lot of things.
Oh, we are.
So I don't know. So when it comes to that, that's something I'm still like working on, is getting that nutrition side. But I feel like it's better. It's better than it was a year ago, and it'll be better next year. And I think that's the thing, just making those small improvements.
It will. It will.
Yeah. I watched the 80% thing. You said that triggered something. I watched a documentary on Netflix about cultures or areas that you live to be, a lot of the population lived to be over 100.
I started that.
Yeah, and I think, was it Okinawa maybe? Was what they call a blue zone.
Yes.
Blue hair.
Yes.
And I think that they have a word in their culture that doesn't translate, but what over there is when you eat to 80%, to your 80% full, and you stop.
Yeah.
And they teach their children that, and it's just a cultural thing.
Yes.
And that might be one of the reasons why, they live to be over 100.
So blue hairs in? Like they live to be
over. They call it a blue zone. It's where a large percentage of the population lives to be over 100.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they like took several places around the globe and they like studied traits that they had that were like different than. Yeah, it's kind of. I only watched the first like 1.5 episodes, but super interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was. I know, and what you get later on into it, the areas that were blue zones where fast food is moved into or something like
yes,
that.
yes.
They now are. There was one area, I think it was somewhere in Central America or South America, that was a huge blue zone. Now it's almost gone.
That's what Stephen.
It just comes down to diet and what you
Well,
eat,
exactly.
and
how
that,
you take care of yourself.
And that's the other thing. Like, there's so much crap in our food. I mean, even like United States compared to other places too. Like, you look at our ingredients for simple things like ketchup, or like I think in McDonald's fries they've got like 18 plus ingredients, most of which are carcinogenic. Like, just craziness. Like when you just need like. So I'm really trying to like do a lot more of the whole foods too. Like, because. We've just got so much crap and everything. Like we do. Like it's ridiculous.
Oh, we went to France and over here, all the preservatives in bread and in cheeses, things like that just upset my stomach.
Absolutely.
To no end.
Absolutely.
Go over there and the bread. I mean, I ate so much bread. I had, these wonderful cheeses.
Yeah.
I'd have wine, all the things, and they were natural.
Yes.
And you know how you knew they were natural? Because they had these stickers on there that said, we don't put anything in our food. You know, and it was government. You know, they had to meet certain standards to get that sticker, and everybody wanted that sticker. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
I felt good. And you're right, I didn't eat huge portions. I ate just what I needed.
Yes.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave up eating meat probably a little over a month ago.
Did you?
I just did it one day, and then one day turned into two, and then now it's just like, see how long I can go. But it's been over a month now, but the one noticeable difference I've had is my stomach issues have, for the most part, gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's just, everything seems to be run better.
Are you supplementing your like B12s and stuff with it?
I haven't got into the B12 yet. It's been a thought that I've had.
Yeah.
It's not for weight loss. If anybody thinks that is, because trust me, it ain't helped.
Yeah.
But no, it just got to be more of a challenge just to see if you can do. And I still don't call myself a vegetarian because I could tomorrow. Yesterday we had our church picnic and the brisket was so tempting. But anyway.
Yeah.
But no, it was just about that. Now I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I haven't quite decided. It's just
Well, and that's
I
the
hate to
thing.
stop.
No, you gotta play. Like I said, you gotta play with things and how they make you feel. And like
Exactly.
I do think people are different. I think some people require more of one thing than another, and I think it does matter like what your activity level is and like what you're involved in. I mean, like, those things all, like, everybody's different. You know, so, and I think some people thrive being like vegan and things as long as they're supplementing, like they're, it's good. I mean, most of our animal protein comes from the meat and plants anyway, so it's not like, but.
Yeah, the documentary I had watched on it by accident, it was just like, wait, how many cows do you see eating meat? None.
Yeah.
None.
And they get their protein from natural places.
Gorillas don't,
Yeah.
like, in they're more
Right.
ripped. They're more ripped than any of our biggest people, right?
Right?
Yeah. Well, the documentary was on basically
That's true.
athletes.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, athletes that are on a
Yeah.
plant-based diet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it's absolutely like a totally doable thing. Like I probably would never go full like vegan, but I would do like days of like not eating meat. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, again, I'm trying to stick more in that moderate.
yeah. I still do dairy and eggs. It makes it a lot easier. So that's what they call it, a octo-lacto
I don't even know.
vegetarian, but
Yeah.
it helps. It's good. When I first got into it, it was just I was so worried about the protein.
Yeah.
I was eating too much. So
Yeah, absolutely.
trying to make sure I got enough protein.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
It's a good idea. Anyway.
Well, what? You're like
Well, this
thinking
went
about
a
that.
whole different direction,
It
didn't
I
it?
did.
know. I love it, though. I love it.
It did. It's good. It's good to be random sometimes.
Uh-huh.
We knew this was going to be an all over the place one, so it
Right.
works. It works. So, what new projects you guys got coming up? Anything?
Projects. Goodness gracious. I'm headed to Vegas next week for a conference for an EXP conference, and I could not wait to come back because there is so much going on there, so many different tracks and stuff that we can take and learn about. But they're really focusing on AI. They're focusing on social media, lots of podcasting, lots of all kinds of things.
Yes.
So I'll be sitting in on all of those, just kind of
That's awesome.
hearing what's happening. So
Yeah.
I'm real excited.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about EXP in general, just because like, I've done a lot of the stuff with like the Grant Cardone and Elaine Cardone, and she does EXP.
She does, yeah.
She's like big into that, so she's like. I went to like a women's conference with her one time. It was like in Miami on a yacht. It was cool as could be. But like,
she's got the coolest clothes.
Like,
you should see her at that conference last year. I'm like, oh my gosh, that dress.
Yeah.
She's
and
beautiful.
And I also love jujitsu and stuff. And she's like been doing that forever. And she's like a gun fanatic and stuff. So it's kind of cool. Like she's very relatable. So, anyways, but yeah, so she's talked a lot about EXP, like I was telling somebody else I had heard the founder speak to at one of their conferences.
Glenn Sanford.
So yeah, but just very interesting, and they've kind of set that up completely different than a lot of the other brokerages. So
It is.
it's kind of. But have you been with EXP since when did you?
No, for about 4 years now.
4 years.
So, and I started. It was really interesting. I came from a smaller firm. She taught me so much. I mean, it was with Marilyn Mason. She taught me so much. She taught me how to put things in and to really work and sell and take care of your clients.
Yeah.
So I learned the basics from her.
Yeah.
And then EXP's like her on steroids.
Yeah. So you're going off to Vegas for EXP Fun.
I am.
Are you doing any fun trips coming up?
No fun trips coming up. We've got we adopted our son from China.
Oh.
So about every other year, the group we traveled over there with, most of us get together for.
Okay, I need to know about this. Real quick.
Most of us get together for a reunion. So we've known the kids since they were 1, and then we get together. And I think we got together last year in the Ozarks, and this year we're going to. Is it Destin? I think that's where we're going next year.
Now,
So that's always fun because this will probably be the kids will be. Let's see, 15 years old. We're assuming this may be our last trip.
Last hurrah. So,
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder because they're all getting older and more active.
how was that experience with the adoption? I'm just curious now because we've like talked about adopting international. So
Now it'll vary from country to country.
Yeah.
But with China, it's a process. I mean, I personally think anybody that has children should have to go through the same process we did because you definitely have to work for it. When we started the process, it was back in 2006, and at that time it was about a 12-month process.
Okay.
Then I think not long after we put our papers in, or just before we put our papers in, it was on Oprah.
Okay.
So needless to say, that 1 year turned into a 4-year wait.
Oh.
So yeah, it was long, drawn out, but it was a great experience. I'd do it all over again. I mean.
Did you have to go over and spend like a couple weeks or anything?
2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, we flew over. Well, the whole process is, after you get through the waiting part, China they have a whole department set up in Beijing.
Yeah.
And all the people in there do is sit and match children with parents, and how they get this so right, I have no idea. But if you meet the 20 families that went over there with us, they pretty much nailed it all on the head. So, but they sit and match the kids, and then you have your day where you get all your information, get pictures of your child and stuff, and then you have to wait another month before your travel day, and then you fly over. We flew from here to Chicago on to Hong Kong, spend 2 or 3 days in Hong Kong, and then you fly out to the province where your child's at.
Okay.
In other words, you go to the real China.
Yeah.
So Zach's from Nanchang, and we flew out there. Huge development. I mean, people don't understand. Nanchang, probably 10 years before we went there, was a small Chinese city of about 7 million people, about the size of New York. And then by the time we got there, it was up to 30 million.
Jeez.
I mean, buildings going up right and left. But I mean, and the city itself is developing. I mean, it was modernized, but we drove 30 minutes outside the city, and then it's just you see the poverty, the roller sections and
Yeah.
things. Never have I been more scared in a car than I was trying to go to Walmart with a couple of other fathers. They hooked us up with a taxi driver, and we thought for sure this was going to be our last day on earth. It was an experience. We almost walked home. So, but no, it was a good experience. And then you spend a week there, and then we flew back to Guangzhou, where the U.S. consulate is, and do your U.S. paperwork and go through all that. So
you said how many people were with you?
we had the largest travel group that our agency had ever sent to China, 20 families. Usually on average, it's about 8 to 9.
And you've kept in contact for all those years?
Yeah, most of us. There's
so
a core group
awesome.
of about 14 or 15 that have really stayed in touch. And like I said, we get together. Not every family, but I think last year we had 11 families. I think the most we ever got, and this was back when the kids were younger, the most we ever got, I think, was probably 14, 15 families that got together.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we try to find a house big enough so we can all stay under one roof. So that gets
That's
to be
such a cool thing. I love that story.
yeah, it's very communal. The parents probably have a lot more fun than the kids do. So
That's seriously awesome. I love that. Okay, well, I told you guys we're getting ready to go to New Mexico and do our hot air balloon festival. So hopefully, I will be sending you guys a podcast from a hot air balloon. We'll see.
I'm looking forward to that.
I hopefully. I mean, I might not make a friend who is willing to take me up in their balloon, but that is the goal. So we'll see. But but I appreciate you guys coming on today.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for having
This
us.
has
Yeah,
been a lot of
absolutely.
fun. So, anyways, we're gonna end. I don't know how you guys end. We can do your ending too, but I like to end with a quote. And so Christy said the one she always likes is, "You never get a second chance to make a first impression," and that's Will Rogers. So,
Yes,
Yes.
that's what I tell my daughters all the time,
yes.
especially when they went through their grunge stage.
There you go. There you go. Do you guys have a special way you end your
yeah,
podcast?
yes, we do. We
Okay.
always have a special way. So Christy, how do we end our podcasts?
Everyone come live our Appalachian treasures and dreams.
Love it.
All right. Thank you,
So
JoDell.
thank you,
Thank you guys.
See you the next time.
See you the next time. He loves that.